Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for dropping by this video and channel. To anyone who's new, this channel is dedicated to helping people understand the difference between actual or traditional non-duality and a modernized, watered down form of it called Neo-Advaita or Neo-Non-Duality, and pointing out the dangers of Neo-Non-Duality and actually helping people to recover from and overcome it. I'd like to say right at the start, I am not a guru. I'm not enlightened. Please don't blindly believe anything I say. Please reflect on it, listen deeply inside yourself. Read classical non-dual texts and come to your own conclusion. And I would say, please do the same thing with anyone who claims to be teaching non-duality. Sadly, there's, in my view, a lot of nonsense, a lot of harmful nonsense being taught. So I just had an interesting experience. Someone reached out to me who I have a lot of respect for, who I actually genuinely like, and I've hung out with them a few times. They're very, in my view, very much a deep mystic, someone who's has a deep level of awakening, very self-aware, very ethical, someone who I really have respect for on multiple levels. They reached out to me and there were a few hints dropped that this person felt they were now a teacher. In fact, they directly said that they're a teacher. And so that raised some defenses for me. And then the call very much felt like this person trying to teach or support me. In the past, we've been more like friends or peers. And at the end, they even said, let's talk about opportunity, reflect on all this and we can talk about opportunities and financial things, and which I believe was their way of saying, like, hey, I want to be your teacher and I want to get paid for it. So that's fine. I don't have a problem with people wanting to be teachers and wanting to receive money for it. I'm not here to criticize that person, but what I want to share is some things that the person was teaching I felt very uncomfortable with. And I think that's a good thing. And this gets to one of the deep issues of the spiritual path. So one of the things the person said was about being ready to let go of suffering. And they also spoke about, there are a couple of their concepts related to that. This idea of being ready, that you can just let go of suffering. I feel like there was one more that I was like, oh, something doesn't feel right here. So here's where things get really interesting. So in essence, this person was teaching, and they were teaching ideas. One of the ideas they taught is that it's possible to just let go of suffering. Another idea that they taught was that Angelata, hi, thank you for saying hello. Is the person teaching word salads? I love it. I don't, I need to know your definition of word salads, but that's one way. I would say sort of cliches, spiritual cliches, or you could say hallmark spiritual, like get out of your own way and just let go of suffering, and word salads. That's funny. Kinda. And so, and please, I'm just going to keep talking, but Angelata, feel free to share anything you want to share. I'd like to have these be interactive. It won't be interrupting me at all. So-called non-duality dogma. It wasn't quite non-duality, but it wasn't not. It was more kind of like, it was dogma. It was spiritual dogma. And so even something as simple as a statement like, You can just let go of your suffering. That is a teaching, and that is a dogma, and connected to that dogma is a worldview, and that idea will literally reorient your mind and your life, if you take it seriously. By you, I mean any of us. I'll get to that in 1 second, Angelata. So any idea has power, right? And so, and particularly a spiritual idea, which is so abstract, like if I say like, hey, if you drive north 5 miles, you'll make it to the grocery store. So you can do a very simple experiment and find out if that's true. But a subtle spiritual idea, like you can let go of suffering, it's next to impossible to fully verify whether or not that's true. Now, you might have an experience, and I believe this person was speaking to some kind of spiritual experience they had, some kind of spiritual shift that they had. And it's like, how? So I just talked to this person, and now I'm sitting here, and I'm like, how can I come to know whether or not that's a true teaching? It's a very deep subject. And it applies to all spiritual teaching. It applies to bad non-dual teachings. How can we know if it's true or not? How can we know if it's trustworthy? In essence, this person is giving me an instruction for how the world operates and how I can operate if I want to be harmonious. And so I'll come back to that in one moment. I'm going to see what Angelata wrote. Non-duality dogma, which doesn't respect our humanity. So there's the non-dual version of this is like, just let go of the self, or let go of the person, or the person doesn't exist, or you don't exist, or the world doesn't exist. Any one of those ideas is profoundly powerful. If you take it in, if you take it seriously, and by you, again, I mean a human being, it will literally restructure how you operate. Spiritual teachings are like the operating system in a computer. Ideas are like an operating system in a computer. And so it's very important to be very careful what ideas we take in and say yes to. And so in talking with this person, I felt some ideas, and it wasn't, here's where it gets really interesting. It wasn't that what they were saying is not true or 100% not true. It just didn't feel like the full truth. And it also doesn't land with any classical models that I've studied, such as traditional non-duality, such as traditional Buddhism. Those are the two models. And so here's where it gets really interesting. Should I listen to the model I've studied, or should I listen to this person? That's where things get really interesting, because before my whole Neo-Advaita adventure, before my waking up from Neo-Advaita, neo-non-duality, I was just like, just go with the flow, There was no sense of discernment. There was no foundation. There was no structure for me to bounce an idea off. And now I do have a structure. I've got traditional non-duality, and I've got traditional Buddhism. And depending on which day you talk to me, one of them might be stronger than the other. But I can take an idea and I can be like, how does this gel with the model I have? And I'll come back to that in one moment. So here's where this is. And so that feels a little stuffy, right? It's like, oh, something I read in a book, or, oh, this traditional teacher who's part of this lineage, who had a teacher, Like it's a structure bordering on a religion, a set of external ideas. having gone very far down the Neo-Advaita rabbit hole, I have little to no interest anymore in a made-up teaching, in a teaching that isn't grounded in something classical. Because I've tried so many of them. Neo-Advaita was the main one I tried, but I tried many others. So I've kind of gotten traditional. I've kind of gotten spiritually conservative. Like if something that someone says doesn't really resonate in this today, I'm really focusing on Buddhism. Like what this person was saying just didn't really resonate with the Buddhist model. I'm just gonna, it's not that it's 100% wrong, but just like, I'm gonna keep my distance from that. And I was such a spiritual hippie. I just was reading all these different books, like New Age books, psychology, self-help, yoga, traditional, mixed in with some traditional stuff too. And now I've just gotten very conservative. I won't even talk to non-duality to someone who doesn't have a traditional non-dual teacher or is a traditional non-dual. I just won't even talk because it's so twisted and toxic. And so just a mind fuck. So Angelata said, maybe don't be a part of the teaching of that person. Just keep doing what you were really passionate about for now. Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to take that person on as a teacher. Like that's not going to happen. And here's what gets really confusing is this person is very ethical, very awake, very present, very wise. It's not like they're a bad person. Again, some of what they're teaching doesn't resonate with these classical models. And so I don't want to be like, stuck in the mud and confined by a theoretical structure. And any traditional classical spiritual path has a foundation. It creates a theoretical foundation, not one that you're supposed to blindly believe, but one that you need to be open to and investigate. It's like it gives you some ground to stand on. Like today, I'm really looking at traditional Buddhism, and it said that the Buddha taught 8 steps to liberation. The first one is called right view or correct view. And the view in this case means understanding life. Literally offers a paradigm for how life operates. You're not asked to blindly believe it, but you are asked to take it seriously. You could say to try it on. So I may have more to share about that. Any other questions or comments are welcome. Angelata, sometimes verbal expressions are important. I would say often. Some of Neo-Advaita teachers are expressing the truth in a very unnatural manner, which is gaslighting and depressing. I could not have said it better myself. Thank you, Angelata. Some Neo-Advaita teachers are expressing the truth in a very unnatural manner, which is gaslighting and depressing. So, Angelata, I could not have expressed Neo-Advaita better. They're expressing something that has some deep truth in it. They're doing it in a very unnatural, twisted, and distorted way that it is depressing, and it ends up being a form of gaslighting, which is subtly and not so subtly attacking the student. Authenticity. Angelata wrote, all I want is authenticity. I'm just very struck by what you wrote, Angelata. Some Neo-Advaita teachers are expressing the truth in a very unnatural manner. I would say most, if not all, Neo-Advaita teachers are expressing the truth in a very unnatural manner, which is gaslighting and depressing. Couldn't have said it better. And so the unnatural manner and your desire for authenticity, so that's the thing, is it's very unnatural and very inauthentic. It's very theoretical. Like, go to your average Neo-Advaita satsang and be like, I'm having a quarrel with my spouse, and see how the teacher responds. They're probably going to just respond with some ideas that try and get you to shift, let go of the person, or inquire, who is it that's suffering, or something like that, to just completely bypass the situation. It's very twisted. All right. Any other questions or comments? And so just what I want to close with is this idea that ideas are very powerful. It's very important to be very mindful what ideas we say yes to. By we, I mean anyone on the spiritual path. I mean human beings. And see, most ideas have a paradigm built into them. There's, it's almost like an idea is oftentimes just the tip of the iceberg. Like there might be this iceberg, and then there's the tip of the iceberg, but underneath there's a whole iceberg you can't see. So with this idea of just let go of suffering, that's just 5 or 6 words, right? But underneath that, there's all these other connected ideas that may not be so savory. All right, beautiful souls. Thank you so much for your time, energy, and attention. Angelada, thanks for saying hi. And I really appreciate your participation, and that I just love your expression of what Neo-Advaita is up to. Take care, beautiful souls. Thanks so much.